is you're trying to transform this quadratic equation into vertex form. It's a parabola, and there's a special form that you can put the equation in so that you can identify the vertex, the axis of symmetry, and then all that. So you take this equation, and the first thing you have to do is you have to move this number over to the left side. And so I'm going to cross it over. And when I cross it over, it's as if I'm going to add 507 here, add 507. So I'm going to have y is equal to 507 minus 5x squared minus 100x. And what I have to do is I have to complete the square. So I have to find a number here that I can use to write this side as a perfect square trinomial. And that would involve using or finding or doing completing the square. So when there is a number, when you have a coefficient of the first term, you always have to take it out. So my next step is going to be y is equal y plus 507 is equal to a negative 5 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out the negative 5 from here, and that's going to leave me with x squared. I'm going to factor out a negative 5 from my middle term, and that's going to leave me with a positive 20x. I don't know why my neck started hurting all of a sudden. Okay, so did you see what I did here? I factored out the negative 5 from the negative 5x squared, and I factored out the negative 5 from here. So in other words, if I was to go back and do negative 5 times x squared, I get this. Negative 5 times a positive 20x, I get that. So now I'm going to complete the square. I'm going to complete the square in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 20, and I'm going to take half of it because that's the step. So I'm going to do 20 divided by 2. That gives me 10. Then I'm going to square that. When I square the 10, I get 100. That is the number that's going to complete my perfect square. So what I've done here is I added 100, but in fact, I've added 100 times a negative 5. So on the right side of my equation, I actually added a negative 500. So if whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So if I added a negative 500 here, I have to add a negative 500 as well on this side. So that's going to leave me with y plus 7 is equal to negative 5, and then this is where I'm going to complete the square. X squared is x times x. 100 is 10 times 10. If I multiply 10 times 10, I get 100, but 10 times 2 is 20, and that's what I want there. Signs have to be the same, and they both have to be positive. So I'm going to do this. Yeah, 10 times 10. In other words, if I was to FOIL these two together, I'm going to end up with x squared plus 20x plus 100. In other words, oops, I forgot my x. So if I was to do x times x, I get x squared. X times 10 is 10x. 10 times x is 10x. 10 times 10 is 100. Well, that 10x in here and the 10x that I had out here is kind of like 10 times 2, or 10x plus 10x, which gives me 20x. So the x plus 10 times x plus 10 is the same thing as x plus 10 squared. So I'm going to have y plus 7 is equal to a negative 5 times x plus 10 squared. And there you go. Now I'm going to move this 7 back to this side. So I'm going to have y is equal to a negative 5 times x plus 10 squared minus the 7. And that's it. That is the vertex form of this equation. So now I can identify my vertex, which is going to be at the h and k. I think I got that. I'm not even sure if I have that right. But, so this is my h and this is my k. So my vertex is supposed to be negative 10 with a positive 7. And that's it.
So where's the answer? Like for the whole thing?
Right here.
Okay.
That's the answer.